Hello, this is Tom with the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I just wanted to have a little sit down with you, kind of explain a little bit about what this sawmill and what's going on. When I was a little kid, just a little toddler, my father went and purchased a sawmill that it was in better shape than this one was when he bought it, but it still needed a bunch of wood replaced and stuff on it. He went and bought it. He bought it from Utah State University, and they had been using it in their ag department. Utah State is a big agriculture school, and they had a forestry division in that at the time, and they'd quit using it, and that sawmill needed a bunch of rebuilding and stuff. And I remember as a toddler going with my dad and looking at it before he bought it. I've got a memory of that. And then he eventually purchased it from them and brought it home and rebuilt it. As I was a little kid, I spent a lot of hours out with him working on it when he was rebuilding it. And so from there, I've got memories of pulling boards off of it for him. And I know for sure that he had it going enough. There was a couple houses built with the lumber that he had milled. That was back in the day when you didn't have to have the government stamp on the wood to build a house. So anyway, I know he had it running for a while there. He had gone and purchased it was a Hercules diesel engine that somebody had pulled out of a semi-truck, and it was a big old thing, big 6-cylinder diesel engine. That's what he powered it with. And I still have a memory of the day that he got that old Hercules engine running. I remember him running in the house. Dad had a brother that was really into the mechanics, and he had been helping him out. And I remember Dad running in the house and calling his brother on the phone and holding the phone out the back door, hoping that his brother could hear that old power plant running. But anyway, he ran it for a few years, and that Hercules engine ended up burning a piston out in it. And I don't have any idea what year that Hercules was built, but he couldn't find a new piston for it. And so I remember tearing the motor apart with him and finding the whole side of that piston. It probably had a ring in the piston fell, and so the whole side of the piston eventually ended up burning out. Stuff that you see pretty common when you have a motor fail. Anyway, he looked all over, was never able to find a new piston for it, and so being strapped for cash, that was the end of his sawmilling business. And that old sawmill sat out there for years and years and just got older and decrepit, and I'm not honestly sure of what eventually ended up with it happening to it. Anyway, when my dad passed away, I was cleaning his shop out after Dad had passed away, and I ran across he had saved the sharpener guide. I found it in his shop, and so I was real tickled to get that little bit of history from that sawmill, and I'll have to show it to you here. So here's that file guide. This right here is just a flat file that goes in there, and then as you can see, this will go on the saw clamp it on the saw, and then you can get all the angles just right, and then just slide that file back and forth on them. Anyway, something really cool about this piece. Well, number one, it comes off from my father and his sawmill, but number two, I just got to looking at it, and it's Corley Manufacturing. So this is the same piece that made from the same company that built my sawmill. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, it looks to me like it was a blue. I can see a few spots right there. It looks like it looks kind of like it was gray, but real faded out. But I think in a few spots you can see that it was a blue. So it's blue faded out to gray, and I think that I'll eventually restore this and try to get a good paint job on it and a new file in it. And it actually won't work on this blade that I've got here because this blade has carbide tips in it. I don't know, it may be possible you might be able to find a diamond blade that's the same size that might fit in there. I'm not sure, I'd have to do some research. But anyway, this file wouldn't sharpen those carbide tips. But anyway, that's a cool old thing. But that's where I learned, that's where I got my love for sawmilling and for sawmills, was from that experience as a child. And I've had this obsession with these old circular sawmills ever since then. Heck, that's got to have been more than 50 years ago when I had that experience. And so here last January, I was looking on Facebook and somebody had this old mill for sale. Some of you that have been watching the whole time probably know this, but I think a lot of my subscribers have come along during the thing. They may not know it, but I found this mill for sale over there in central Idaho. And so I got a hold of the guy and we loaded up and ran over there and grabbed it. Mostly just a bunch of metal parts and rotten wood is the way that turned out. So anyway, those of you that have been watching and following along, you know the journey that I've been on. It's really been a labor of love. At this point, I've gotten it to the point where it's starting to cut a few boards, and boy, I've got a lot of work left to do. Two things: I've got a lot of work left to do on it, and also I've got to learn how to be a sawyer. When Dad was running his mill, I was too young of a kid to know or understand how to be a sawyer, all of the different things to do. So anyway, finishing it up and learn to be a sawyer, and I might end up with something here, but it's been really fun project, and I really appreciate those of you that have been along for the ride with me. And boy, I've had some subscribers that have been so helpful, giving me suggestions and everything on it. There's some real knowledgeable people that watch my channel, and it surprises me that people that are that knowledgeable are watching what I'm doing. But it's a lot of fun interacting with everybody, and I appreciate everybody watching and commenting and giving me advice. A lot of the advice I haven't been able to take because I've got a pretty strict budget. Anyway, I'm over on my budget on it now. So anyway, if I had the resources to do the things right from the start that people suggest, I think things would go smoother. But trying to do it without putting a lot of money into it is a little bit hindered me along the way. But I intend on putting videos out of all the work I do on it and the sawing that I do. And that's where my love for sawmills comes from. Also, when I was a kid, I learned to really love the old tractors and the old farm equipment, and that's probably a subject for another video. This one's probably running long enough. So anyway, I appreciate everybody that watches my videos and comments, and thanks for watching.